welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Roderick. This is Rants About Tech, and today I'm going to be talking about handwriting and the tools we use for handwriting, the handwriting utensils, if you will. In the beginning, I started off obviously writing pen and paper. Actually, no pen and paper, pencil and paper. Everybody does that. Kindergarten. I actually connect with writing wholeheartedly. So I'm not a typer, I'm more of a pecker, and I'll eventually get to where I need to get to in some reasonable amount of time, but it takes a while for me to type. So I'm stuck with writing. And that became my way to connect with information. It's my way of learning information, and it's just how I do things. It's comfortable for me. So with that said, I've always tried to find better ways of writing and better ways of doing the writing thing, because when you write, you have to look at your notes and rewrite it, and then you have to edit that and maybe rewrite again and rewrite the rewrite. So I'm trying to cut all of that out, or at least that was my mission in life after being in college, just trying to figure out better ways of writing and getting things done most efficiently and in the most organized way I can. That led me to college, where one of my college professors realized how bad I was at typing and was like, "Hey, have you ever tried Dragon Naturally Speaking?" And so it was my first foray into speech to text. And this was in the early 2000s. So text to speech isn't very good right now. Well, I mean, it's better than what it was, but it's not 100%. So you can imagine what it was back then. So I'm learning Dragon Naturally Speaking, learning how to use it, and it helped. It helped me get my information out of my head and onto the paper or onto the word processing software, so that I can edit and manipulate it like I wanted it to, formatting and such. So that was a thing for a while, and that was a great way for me to get information out quickly, and then it would take some time for me to organize it. That worked for a while, but as you can imagine, you can't really use speech to text in noisy places, and you can't really use speech to text in quiet places that are like expecting you to be quiet as well. So that's not a thing. So that makes it very hard to use speech to text on a normal basis in all situations. Like if I want to go to a coffee shop and do some dictating, it's hard to do it there. If I was in a library, it's hard to do it there. So there's a lot of situations where speech to text just isn't ethical or logical to do. So in those times, you just kind of resort back to handwriting or pecking in my case. Fast forward a little while after that, I came across this thing called the Apple Newton. So the Apple Newton was basically a device that allowed you to write on the screen. And this device came out in 1997. I think the Newton itself came out in 93, but then the 2100, which was the last iteration, the best iteration of that message notepad that they came out with. So it was called the Apple Newton Message Pad. And it was awesome. It had the best handwriting software I'd ever seen. I think I'd only ever seen that, but you could write on it, and you could, it would take that handwriting and change that into text for you. So that was super useful for me for organizing my notes and ideas. And then once you had that in the message pad, you can manipulate that text by making it larger. You can draw shapes. You can draw on it if you wanted to as well. You can make bulleted lists. You could do all kinds of stuff with this message pad. It was super useful for me. The only downside was eventually you couldn't get the documents off of that device. So it became a hassle to where I had to start doing workarounds. Like I could only take my message pad to school and take notes in class, and then go home and rewrite those notes off of the message pad onto an actual notebook that I would then study from there. So it became a good way for me to have a notebook replacement while in class, but it did very little for me after that because like I said, I had to go home and rewrite those notes. So, and eventually that became too cumbersome because parts for replacing the Newton became scarce because they discontinued the Newton, I think in 98. So a year after the 2100, Apple discontinued it. As you can imagine, over the years, it just became harder and harder to find parts. And then it just became harder and harder to justify continually doing that. So I kind of left that behind and came back to my old faithful, which is pen and paper, which is what I have here today. So I'm looking for something that will mimic this situation we have right here. So pen and paper to me is like one of the best experiences. Like a stack of paper with a ballpoint pen, to me, it just feels amazing. And that's kind of what I've had to go back to over the years since my message pad became defunct. So now I'm writing notes in a notebook again, and I'm kind of augmenting that with index cards here and there. And therein lies the problem. I'm trying to find a better way to do that. As you can imagine, index cards get lost. You might misplace them, or it's not all together, or you just put them in a place where it's in a stack of cards where you thought it was about a different topic. I don't know. Things happen. I've been trying to figure out a way to better do that thing. And someone who cares about me made a suggestion, said, "Hey, I see you're having a problem. Let me help you with that problem. Have you seen this thing that you can just write on and it would change your handwriting into text?" I'm like, what? Apple remade the Newton? Do tell, but it's not Apple. It's made by a company called, I don't even know who makes this thing. It's called the Remarkable, and I'm super interested in trying this thing. So we're going to get one of those and try it out and see if it mimics this pen and paper that I like so much. And it doesn't even have to be pen and paper. From what I understand, this more mimics pencil and paper, which is cool for me. As long as it gets my notes down and I don't have to type these things and then rewrite some notes, then write that again and rewrite the rewrite. I mean, you see where this is going. It's not fun. It's never fun. And you try doing that 2 or 3 times a day, it'll drive you crazy. So if I can figure out a way to just write my notes and then edit those notes right where I wrote them at, that's like a ton of rewriting and it's out of the way. And that saves me hours a day. And then imagine taking those refined notes and just reading from that. Like I don't need this at that point. Write it, rewrite it, or just write it, edit it, and then read from that edit. I mean, I imagine utopia right now happening with pen and paper. That's what I imagine. And we'll see if it gets there. We'll see if the editing is good, because that's my main thing. The Newton was so good at editing tools. I mean, if you Google Newton, Google Apple Newton 2100, I'm telling you, once you see what the thing can do, you'll be amazed. But I'm hoping that it at least comes close to the editing tools that they had on the Newton. And I'm hoping that the handwriting recognition is as good as well, if not better. I mean, we're talking a decade ago, so handwriting recognition has had to have gotten better. And I can't speak. One more time. I mean, we're talking a decade ago, so handwriting recognition has got to have gotten better. I think I said had twice again. We're going to keep that one though. All right, everyone. That's going to be it for me. So I'll let you guys know how I feel about this new breed of e-ink devices that we got going on. And I'm definitely going to try 1 or 2 of them, maybe 3 if I'm lucky. Unboxing's coming, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more, like if you liked, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.